Hello all you lovely people in internet land, it's Rob here from Game Life Balance Australia. Welcome to my questions video, or my Q&A video. Haven't really settled on a name for this video, but this is the video where I'm going to answer some questions. A couple days ago I sent out a tweet asking for questions. Got a bunch of questions back, so thanks a lot to everyone who sent in their questions. I want to say that 99% of the questions I got back were really good, so thank you so much for sending those in. Really appreciate it. It's great to have people following what I do that are actually interested and engaged. It's great, so thank you so much. Can't say how much that means to me. Somewhat ironically, my actual real life friends sent in a bunch of stupid fake questions that were basically just jokes and really pretty much cheap jabs at me. So just goes to show you that the friends you make online, most of whom you've never actually met, are more supportive, more friendly, and basically just better friends than the friends you have in real life. So yeah, hopefully you'll all learn something about me today. I know I've already learned something, which is that my real life friends are all a bunch of fucking cunts. Right. Well, with that out of the way, let's answer some questions, shall we? So, me and AC both live in a city called Canberra. Canberra is a city of about 400,000 people. It's actually the capital of Australia, and it's kind of sad that most people don't know that. There are some pros to living in Canberra. We're our own little territory, kind of like how the District of Columbia in America is its own little, sort of like a mini state within a state. We have our own laws, and some of those laws are actually pretty great. So, for example, decriminalized marijuana, which if I ever did drugs ever, which I never have, would be a great law. One that I would be very happy to, celebrate and responsibly do a thing. But I won't because I don't do drugs and never have. Okay, so look, Australia has a really bad reputation for being a country that's, chock full of dangerous, poisonous, and basically just ill-tempered animals that spend their entire lives thinking about killing people. Just like sitting there all day, just dreaming of the opportunity to straight up murder someone. And you know what? That's actually not entirely far from the truth. There's basically three kinds of animals in Australia that you need to be worried about. There's spiders. Now the thing is, we've got a lot of spiders out here, and some of them are very large, some of them are very scary looking. But there's only two kinds you need to really be worried about, which is the redback, which is basically like a black widow, and the Sydney funnelweb. If you get bitten by a redback, it will make you quite sick. But if you get bitten by a Sydney funnelweb, you could die. You probably won't die, but you could die. So yeah, spiders are kind of dangerous. Snakes. Snakes are actually probably the number one thing you need to be worried about in Australia. We have a lot of poisonous snakes. In fact, if you listen to our most recent podcast, there's a plug for you. If you listen to episode 11 of Game Life Balance Australia, which should be out now or soon or something, you'll learn that Australia has some of the most poisonous and deadly snakes on the planet. I remember going for a walk with my wife. Strangely enough, it was on the very same day that we found out that my wife was pregnant. We went for a walk in a local nature reserve, and I almost stepped right on an eastern brown snake, which is, according to my research, the second most venomous snake in the entire world. I saw it just before I stepped on it and was able to sort of dash out of the way. It didn't really do anything, it just sort of sat there and looked at me, as if to say, you're lucky. The third kind of animal you need to be worried about is crocodiles. Now, crocodiles are pretty much only found in the northern half of Australia, from sort of Queensland up. So here in Canberra, basically New South Wales, Victoria, anything in sort of the southern part of Australia, crocodiles are basically not a threat. You won't find any. Although if you do find yourself in Townsville or Darwin or Cairns or any of those sort of northerly cities in Australia, probably be wise to exercise caution when you're having a swim in a local river, because you might get eaten by a 20-foot crocodile. Probably Sydney, I'd say. They have, you know, all the landmarks. They have the Opera House, the Sydney Harbour Bridge. You can cuddle a koala at the zoo if that floats your boat. I suppose you could go visit Melbourne as well. You get a pretty similar sort of experience that you would in Sydney. But the thing about Melbourne, I need to stress, it's a good and a bad thing. The thing about Melbourne is that it's a very cosmopolitan city, full of people who are quite progressive, well-educated, fond of the arts. Basically, they're not very good representatives for what Australia really is. If you go to Sydney, you'll encounter real, proper, working-class, racist bastard Australians. You get a much more accurate vibe for what Australia is all about, which is basically a unique blend of xenophobia, alcoholism, and bawdy humour. So this might surprise some of you, but my favourite genre of music is hip-hop music, particularly hip-hop from the 80s and 90s. The first album I bought was a cassette tape of Ice Cube's Lethal Injection album. I bought that when I was about 14 years old, and I'm pretty sure it terrified my parents. I got really into Cypress Hill for a period there, then moved on Wu-Tang Clan. I was into that kind of early, like I was into Wu-Tang Clan before they dropped the Forever album. Really like Redman a lot. Dare Is a Dark Side's my favourite Redman album. Love Tribe Called Quest, Gangstar, Company Flow, definitely up there for me. Love Company Flow. I'm not sure whether this makes people judge me or like me more or what. But yes, I'm completely unapologetic about it. I love hip-hop music. Pretty sure I always will. Yeah, there you go. That's my favourite music. Oh, God, yeah. Okay, so let's get one thing clear. I am a voracious reader. I had to actually make an agreement with my wife that we stop purchasing books until I've read all the books that I own. I am working my way through them. You know, even on that shelf there, you can see I own a lot of books. And it's really quite hard to pick a favorite book because I have so many. I was tempted to pick something, you know, really intellectual and something that would show off, you know, the breadth and depth of my reading. You know, like I could start waffling on to you about my collection of Plato books, or, you know, War and Peace or something like that. But truth be told, my favorite book is Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I first read this book when I was a little kid. My father pretty much forced me to read this book when I was about 10 years old. And of all the really cruel things that my father forced me to do when I was a child, forcing me to read Lord of the Rings was definitely a good decision. It's an amazing work of fiction. It spawned an entire genre of fiction. I don't know where fantasy literature would be if it weren't for Tolkien. You know, it's really, really up there. And I struggle to think of another work of fiction that I love more. And I struggle to think of another author that I have more respect for than Tolkien. And I will say the movies were actually really good. I'm one of the people who loves the books but also defends the movies. I'll even go to bat for the Hobbit movies. Look, I have a dim memory of being babysat by my next door neighbours. Their son had an old Apple Macintosh computer of some sort. I really don't know what kind of Apple Mac it was. It had like a monochrome screen, like black and green, I want to say, or maybe black and white. And I have this dim memory of playing Pac-Man. I don't know whether it was like actually Pac-Man or just like a Pac-Man clone. But I remember really enjoying it and begging to be allowed to keep playing it. So I think that's the earliest memory I have of playing a video game or a computer game was Pac-Man on my next door neighbor's Apple. It's the Citizen Kane of our generation. Look, I've got nothing against I Love Lucy. I used to watch that a lot as a kid, probably because there wasn't much else on TV. Andrew seems to have a deep-seated loathing for that show, which I can only attribute to the fact that he is an inhumane monster full of seething rage and despair, a self-loathing, pitiful creature who wishes to inflict pain on others in order to exorcise the pain that he feels every day just from living. I think what I'm more concerned about is not so much the nutritional value of your dinner, but the fact that you are consuming a product called gamer fuel, which is possibly the most cringeworthy name for a beverage ever. I thought you had more self-respect than that, and frankly I'm a little disgusted. Fucked if I know, man. That movie's gonna be a hot mess of a garbage fire of a trash heap. Like, what I want it to be, and what I know it won't be, is a bunch of people running around dressed as Tetris pieces. You know, kind of like characters at Disney World with their sort of legs and arms sticking out of the sides of the Tetris pieces. Maybe some of them carry guns. You know, maybe a cool, 1x4 Tetris piece just walks slowly towards the camera. An explosion happening behind him. He doesn't look back. He flicks a cigarette nonchalantly over his shoulder. That could be fun. Or maybe like, okay, maybe like the bad guy's name will be Tetris. Right? Yeah, think about that. Welcome to my lair. I'm Dr. Tetris. I hope you like falling blocks, because that is how you will die. Something like that. Okay, well, that's all the time I have to answer questions today. Thanks again to everyone who sent their questions in. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, if you enjoyed watching this video for some bloody reason, then please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter and tell your friends, and yeah, be nice to me, please. Please? My friends hate me.